Lovely, thank you. Yes, hi everybody, I'm Hannah, I'm Scribe's head accountant, so it's great to have you all joining us today, and hello to those people I've spoken to before. So today then, in my 5-minute round, I want to try and bring you my 5 top tips for budgeting and forecasting. So firstly, I've thought about common budgeting worries. They tend to be lack of support, lack of time, lack of confidence, and issues with the budget itself. So if that fed into then top tip number 1, which is to schedule time. So this is thinking about your time. Hopefully you've already got your meeting scheduled in to review and approve your budget and your preset. So this is thinking about you and making time in your diary. Super important task budgeting, because obviously ultimately we need to result in the precept, really key task. So obviously you need to dedicate time to it, work back from those scheduled meetings so that you have got timeframes to work to, deadlines that you know that you can meet. If you can, delegate and involve other people, give them some work to do towards the budget. And if you do, make sure you give them clear deadlines so that you can then put that information together. The top tip number 2 is to forecast. So forecasting is estimating the income and the spend for the remaining months of the year to get an expected end of year position that you can then compare to the budget. So forecast for complete months now is ideal. Obviously we're now in October, so we've got April to September, so 6 months of actuals. Forecast October to March, so you've got your complete year. And when doing so, remember to be realistic. Include everything that you think is going to happen in the forecast. This is an example of a sheet I set up a few years ago to assist with budgeting and forecasting, and I'm sure we can give that out if that's helpful to you. A lot of information in there, but you can put the budget in, the actuals, the forecast, the estimation, so you've got your full forecast. Once you've got that, compare that forecast to the budget, review those lines line by line. Obviously, you're going to have to consider one-off items, and particularly this year as well, the added impact of inflation, cost of living crisis, which makes everything that little bit harder as well. So number 3, don't be afraid to start again. That might seem quite extreme, but you may now come into a situation where actually the budget isn't fit for purpose, it's not detailed enough, it's too detailed. Is it better to revamp it? If you do so, then you're likely to need to use zero-based budgeting. That's starting from scratch. Ignore that current budget, ignore your previous budget, that all goes in the bin, blank piece of paper, start again, build it up in the format that you want it so it's more meaningful to you. So that'll be relevant if when you've done your forecast, that forecast is vastly inaccurate and different to your current budget, or if you've got new projects or new elements that you want to add into the budget as well. So worth considering if you need to do so. Top tip number 4, I think the most important one, make notes, keep records of the decisions made. It's easy to go through this budgeting process now, and then by the time we get to April, the new budget comes in. What did we decide? Why is that number that number? So it's really important, notes, notes, notes. So for the budget itself, notes on those lines that have changed considerably, what changed and why, those that are estimated, what's the assumption, and those that are made up of multiple elements. Really important. Also, good idea to keep notes throughout the year that you can then refer to at this time as well, so that you've used that as your memory aid as you're going through the process, things to remember. What specific costs do I know? What one-off items do I need to include or exclude? What specific changes do I need to make to the budget? And then finally then, top tip number 5, monitor the budget as well. So it's easy to see this process being fundamentally about resulting in the setting of the precept, but actually budgeting is more than that, is thinking about it and monitoring it, using it for financial decision making. It's important to have regular budget meetings. Make sure you are comparing those actuals to your budget. To do so, you're going to need a good cash book based on those budget lines. Make sure you allocate those transactions out to those budget lines so it's easy to review. Also important for all members of the council to understand the budget. Some are naturally going to be more financially savvy than others, but if you can involve everybody in understanding the importance of the budget and also your budget itself, then that's really going to help. So then, just to recap, my top tips are to schedule time, to forecast, not being afraid to start again if you need to, make notes, and to continually monitor the budget. So we've rattled through them there, but I hope you found something useful in that. If you would like to come along to a longer session when we get into a bit more detail and think about sort of inflation impacts as well, there's some dates and times there, and you can sign up for Scribe Academy. So it'd be lovely to see you. Lovely, thank you.